Alright guys, so welcome to today's JoJo episode, and in today's episode we will finish the data store and then we will start with the framework of our stands, okay? So framework in which we will create all of our stands, in which we will create the stand equip, the stand unequip, whatsoever, so all of that stuff, alright? And then we will hopefully move on with the stands later on. And I'm not gonna start with the world or star platinum as stands, I'm gonna start with some other stands which I didn't create before, alright? But let's quickly take a look at this fix I've now come up with. So as you guys know, in the last video, we left off with this problem right here. So when it came to changing the values, we ran into a little error or into a little problem which seemed unsolvable and which really had no reason to not work. But yeah, so how did I fix this? Instead of using a for IV loop, I'm now doing this, okay? So I'm literally directly referring to our data table and then to this index, so what sort of value we are trying to change, and then I'm directly changing it to the value we want to change it to. Okay, now I think I didn't even explain how this change thing works. Okay, let's quickly take a look at that and then we will move on with this framework stuff. So how does this change work? We have a function right here, and when you call this function, you need to add three things. So the first one is the player, the second one is the value you want to change, so what, so either stand or cache, and the third one is the value you want it to change to. Okay, so either from none to the world or star platinum, or from 0 to 100 or 200. All right, so you want to call this function every time you want to change something. So how can you call this now? Well, of course, we could call it from this script right here. So one mistake I used to do was that I have created a remote event instead of the replicated storage. And every time when you fire server that remote event with, you know, the task to change, it will literally change it. But I don't know why I've done that. So this literally opens up room for every exploiter to just fire server that remote event when they want to. And the reason why we keep this whole thing server-sided is to keep this thing away from exploiters, okay? So using a remote event to change up stuff is literally the worst thing which you can do, and is yeah, it is contradictory to your plan right here of keeping things from the client. Okay, so what you can do is that you use bindable functions if you're trying to change something from the outside. Okay, but by outside I mean server. So when you're still moving inside of the server side and try to change the data of someone. So let's say that you have a script called stand, and the stand script is responsible to detect when you have stabbed yourself with an arrow, okay? Then this server script would be able to change your data, so your stand value right here, for example, to a stand by using this bindable function. So how does this exactly work? So script.change basically refers to this bindable function called change. On invoke is an event which happens when you invoke this, okay? So this script right here is important, but we will take a look at this later. So just know that there is this function called invoke, and when you invoke, this function right here happens, all right? So this is the part which reacts to it. Now with every on invoke right here, so with every event of on invoke, you need to return something, but in this case we don't really want to use this as you know, so it has no use to us to return something, but it's still something you need to include. So therefore I've written down return nil. You can also return anything you want to return. It doesn't really matter because we do not need this. We just add it because otherwise the script would throw out an error. And yeah, so once you invoke this bindable function, you need to include these three values. So the player, you're trying to change the stuff of the stuff, and the stuff you want to change it to. So this is a good example on how you can use this bindable function. So you just have to refer to this bindable function and then invoke, and then include the player, the value, and the value you want to change it to. Okay, once this whole thing is invoked, everything what happens is that this function, this change function then is called, and it just literally takes these arguments right here and puts them right here. And then from there on, you guys hopefully know what happens. All right, And this script was just created to test things out. Okay, I've accidentally clicked on this. So as you can see, after 15 seconds, once the script is loaded, we just change the cache to something very high right here. But yeah, that's it with the data store. Let's actually move on with the stand framework. Of course, we're not going to finish it in this video, but it is better to have it done now. Nah, actually, I think that I'm gonna end the video at this point, so that we do not start with something and then just cut it out halfway through, you know. So let's really start the framework in the next video so that we have one complete video on this. Okay. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, share this video to all your friends, leave feedback in the comment section, guys. Take care and see you in the next video.